Chris, you moved from ministry into HR. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your journey starting in ministry?
Sure, absolutely. I did youth ministry at two congregations. I was in Georgia for about 4.5 years. I did youth ministry there right out of college, right out of Harding. They hired me, and I ended up, I was actually let go from the congregation in Georgia, and the congregation in Arkansas reached out to me, and the time over there was pretty well. I was between ministry jobs for a couple months, and I found myself in Arkansas, and I did ministry in Arkansas for almost 8 years, just shy of 8 years. About 4 or 5 years into that, a little over halfway, I kind of knew that I had more years behind me than I did ahead of me. I didn't necessarily intend for it to be a 3-year long process, but it ended up being about 3 years long. I had landed on HR just from all the contacts, interviews that I'd been doing. I had taken a few classes on HR, just kind of like HR 101, just kind of I from my context and from my just network, I was like, okay, I think HR is what's next for me. And so I'd been doing that for about a year when the church in Arkansas let me go. And I think that helped because that I kind of already had I'd already started the process, and I had an exit strategy in mind. It's just that the timing, wasn't exactly how I envisioned.
Tell me about some of the specific steps you took, both just professionally, but also specifically for HR.
So I'll say this: you're correct. I took some steps. It was after some hard lessons that I realized I had to take these steps. It started out as, okay, I think HR is where I want to go. I applied to a couple HR jobs and I don't get them. Okay, so it started out that's the process at its basic core. Step one, I applied to some jobs having a 100% ministry background, and I didn't get an interview. And got these emails, hey, we're going with somebody else, and so it was disappointing. But now I'm on the other side, where I'm in HR, and somebody sends me a background, a resume with background in ministry. Yeah, I mean you're gonna need there's got to be some selling on that, because it's we're getting applicants that have HR experience, and we're getting this ministry guy. I was a ministry guy, so I mean this 100% respectfully, but there's what are we connecting to the job here? How are we able to translate this to what we're looking for as an organization? And so I finally, I'm kind of slow up here sometimes. I realized I can't just start applying to jobs hoping people are going to hire me when all my background is ministry. I need to put some HR stuff on my resume. The first place I went was, okay, there's somebody in town that used to be a minister. He's working at a bank now. I'm going to talk to him, see, okay, how did you do this? All right. So I talked to him, and it ended up being a productive conversation. He gave me some contacts, some people to network with. And so then I got his list of people. There are people that are in HR that could help me. And so one of the people, it was a list of like 4 names. One of the individuals is an individual that to this day I am so thankful. I didn't meet him until that phone call. I had never heard of this person, never knew this person, but to this day has been the hugest. I mean, it was like a list of 4 people. Like 2 of them didn't answer. One of them was, kind of helpful, but this person just like really embraced it. And I honestly don't know if I'm able to do this without this individual. I called him and said, well, hey, yeah, there's this organization around town called SHRM. It's a network of HR professionals in the area. If you're looking to land a job, why don't you start coming to some of our meetings? And bring some resumes, tell them what you're trying to do, and we'll see where it goes. It was super, super helpful. I went to the first meeting and it was like, hey, I'm Chris, I'm in ministry, want to go to HR, please hire me. Um,
How'd
and
that go for you, Chris?
it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Okay. But thankfully I was invited back by that same individual I talked to on the phone. He said, hey, you'll be my guest, keep going. This, a lot of he said a lot of people get into HR, but just come to these meetings. And the second meeting I went to, my conversation, I put some thought behind it and I put some intentionality. I didn't take the approach of, my name's Chris, I'm trying to get an HR, please hire me. I took the approach of, my name's Chris, I'm trying to get into HR. If you were doing what I'm trying to do, what would you do?
Oh, perfect.
And then that opened the door to greater conversation. Oh, well, hey, there's this class. They meet in Jonesboro once a year, and it's an all-day HR one-on-one class. We send some of our entry-level people to this class. Why don't you just take it? And so after taking that class, I kind of had a different perspective, and I went back the third time to that meeting. I went back with a different resume, and I had a few people looking at it, including this Dwayne, the individual that I talked to, that I still talk to, that helped me get into HR. He looked at my resume. I had recruiters looking at my resume, and it was a night and day difference.
Tell me about your specific HR position. What do you do in your role, regardless of whether it translated real well for ministry or not? What does a day in HR look like?
So that's an interesting question, because I've had a couple different roles post ministry, and I kind of go through each of them. Right after ministry, I was HR coordinator at a nonprofit, and so it was an HR department of one. It was just me being the HR person for that entire nonprofit. So I mean, I told people, they asked me what my official title was HR coordinator, but I mean, some people call me the HR dude. Some people said, hey, that's just Chris, or some people say, I also got called some other things too. They would say, that's our HR person. Essentially, I was the at that first position, the HR coordinator job. It involved a lot of payroll, and there was some payroll stuff involved in organize. We were nonprofit, so there was a lot of grant stuff, and I sold that in the interview. I was like, well, hey, I'm familiar with budgeting for youth group. I had all these spreadsheets and I organized it out. That was something else that translated well, that I was able to put on my resume. Just doing a lot of stuff with budget, because there's a lot that HR you track. I think it's important for HR individuals to know, when an individual leaves, here's how much that cost you. Here's how much you're losing productivity for 2 weeks, and then here's how much. Okay, if they're in training, if they're being onboarded, it's a 2-day training. Monday, Tuesday, and if they're doing that for 16 hours of training and onboarding, and then turn them loose to their supervisors, it's important to know those numbers. Here's how much it costs when you lose an individual. Okay, and so I did a lot of that, and I also, there was kind of the legal stuff that we had to. I was actually, first month in there, I was dumped into a legal. You want to talk about somebody that I had no HR experience, hired at a nonprofit, and I was kind of dumped into a legal mess. And it was nothing I did. I kind of inherited it, but we got a legit lawyer involved, and kind of helped us sort all that out. And it ended up being a much less of an ordeal than it could have been. But there was the legal stuff going on at the time, and then just kind of I did a lot of recruiting. I did a lot of the we did some like some culture stuff, some training, and we had training and culture, and kind of revamping of some policies. I'm not at the nonprofit anymore.
Okay.
Now I am at I'm on an HR team, at a snack food manufacturing facility just outside town.
Okay.
And I needed, in many, many ways, I needed to be on an HR team. I was this guy with no HR experience doing HR by himself. And now I'm on a team. We have a HR manager that I report to, and I needed. I don't think I was necessarily bad at HR, but I needed someone to actually. Yeah, I needed to kind of see someone else's approach to this. I needed to be on a team to collaborate with. Instead of me kind of teaching myself, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was being on this team has really, really been helpful for my career. I do believe, and it's also, this is my first time not in this is my first time in a for-profit, I guess is the best way to say it. This is my first time in a for-profit environment, and that's been eye-opening for me as well too. It's there's just a complete approach change to you got a church approach, a nonprofit church, and now a for-profit approach. And all three of those, while there is some overlap, the for-profit approach has been the one that has the biggest learning curve for me. Because I've been so mission oriented at church, I've been so mission oriented at the nonprofit, and while there is still some mission oriented aspects to what I do at the manufacturing plant, there is the culture there is more. It's more of a productivity. That's the approach, and I get it. We had some of that in nonprofit too. This is more of the approach that they take, and it's been really helpful for me because I am a mission oriented person. I've never been as money focused as many of the for profits, but I do acknowledge that when it comes to being the best HR professional I can be, and just in terms of advancing my career, just having that for-profit mentality has been I think that's been helpful for my approach in general.
That's great.
I don't know if that answered your question or not. Or
that's helpful, especially, and I think I'm like to mention this in our last question because I think that's a really important one. A lot of folks that I speak with, and this was also true for me, maybe it was true for you or not, I don't know. Because we've been in church for so long, it's hard to both appreciate the change into the for-profit world, as well as to understand the differences. And for some people, that's like a source of fear. For some people, that's just a source of anxiety. And some people are like, wherever, just put me to work. But for you, if you were to tell someone, look, here's what it looks like to change from being in the nonprofit world over to the for-profit world, here's what you can expect. What would you tell them?
It's, I don't know if you're gonna like my answer on this. It's kind of one of those same song, different verse things. Okay. Where the actions that you're doing are kind of the same. Okay. At the nonprofit, I did payroll. At the nonprofit, I helped employees with FMLA. At the nonprofit, we did the hiring and the onboarding. Well, I'm doing all that at the for-profit too. I'm doing the FMLA. We're processing. We're doing payroll, monitoring paid time off. Every Monday is new hire day. All the new hires. New hire day is Monday. We do that class every Monday, and so like the actions are kind of the same. And so that's the same song, but the different verse is kind of where we get in with the for-profit thing, because at the nonprofit, it was very mission oriented.
Well, so then, all right, I want to ask one clarification question to kind of evolve on it. Mission is I don't know a minister that's not at least part of their soul. Like there's something bigger than myself. There's something worth pursuing. The church and the life and story of Jesus Christ are worth investing my time and life in. It's worth getting paid less, and all the things that are that come with ministry, right? All the things. You leave ministry, but that hunger is still there. It didn't go anywhere. Where do you find purpose now?
To me, my approach to ministry was, these are my people. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to love on them. We're going to grow together. We're going to attempt to get better at life together. And that's kind of the approach I take in HR. These are my people. We're going to, I introduce them to the culture. We're going to take care of each other. When we're hurting, we'll be there for, we got policies to follow. We got to do all the HR stuff. But I just, in everything I've done in HR, I've kind of taken that approach is, this is my people. We want to take care of them. We want to take care of the culture here. And I think if you take care of the culture, then you're taking care of the people. And so, that does involve hard decisions. There are some investigation kind of different things you have to look at. And ultimately, that is the approach that I take. These are my people. If there's a difficult decision we've got to make, and we've come to the conclusion that someone can't be with us anymore, we're going to still approach that in a respectful way, or we're going to do that with as much dignity as we can. And so there's just kind of, I've just always taken that approach. These are my people, and I don't know if my coworkers realize this or not. But I am frequently, when I'm on the floor, when I'm in the line, or when I'm in the office, or when I'm upstairs teaching the new hire class, I frequently find myself saying to other people, we're going to treat each other how we'd want to be treated. And I don't know if they realize that I'm being biblical or not. I'm sure some of them do, some of them may not. But there's, I say that multiple times a week. If I'm on the line, or if we're in the middle of a kerfluffle, or if a new hire. Just an introduction to the culture in general. I frequently say that.
Chris, thank you for your time. It means a lot, and I'm grateful that your path out of ministry and into what's next has been relatively smooth, not without its bumps, but relatively smooth. And I know that it matters to the people who will watch this video to know that you've shared your story and some of the ups and the downs, and what if HR is a fit. So thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate your time.
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. Anybody, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer any clarifying questions. If you're on a similar path to where I am, I'll help out as best I can. We're all in this together, man. I find myself with realizing that I kind of didn't want to be in ministry anymore. I had no backup option, and here I am. I'm a couple of years into this thing, and it's scary at times, not knowing what the future holds. But we're all in this together, and we worship a God that is a very good God, and He provides for His creation, and He's taking care of me.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.